Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, many blessings and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the house of David, the way after our die, for whom these epistles are written for in this last day. Shalom to the elect. I thought this was a pretty interesting topic, so I'm going to bring it out to the body through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Shai. And I pray that this is edifying for those of you that have the eyes out and ears to hear. All right, so this is a lesson correlating with or not correlating, but actually discussing the fact that America is coming up on its 250th year. And for most of it, as you already know, it's been in war. And this is no different, okay? But the correlation is being that now the difference between this empire and other empires, and there's not really too many differences. There's a lot of parallels. I had a couple of videos possibly that I could bring out that may shine some light on that. Without doing too much research, but absolutely this is critical to prophecy. Now, does that mean that it's not that's gonna that it's going to just end in 2020? No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's a lot of parallels in the fact that America is decadence is fading away, and compared to other empires as well. What happened towards the end of those empires and what's happening right now. And the scriptures line up with exactly how the Heavenly Father is handling, dealing with this whore that rides the beast, and especially Mystery Babylon being in these last times. So through the spirit of prophet, how about Shema Shai, I pray that this is edifying. So this is from Medium. It says the 250 year cycle, how the United States mirrors the rise and fall of every empire before it, right? So I'm not going to read the entire article. If you want to, you can check this out at Medium. Okay, this is from about a month ago. About a month or two ago. If you want to check it out, you can catch up with it. But it's pretty interesting read. All right, it says in the article it says an expanded version of this article with much more. Okay, yeah, all right. So the U.S. I'm reading again. The U.S. is semi-quincentennial. Okay. It says the United States will mark its 250th Independence Day on July 4th, 2026. That milestone is more than just a fireworks occasion. Now, there's a lot of things going on right now. You already know that they finally entered into war with Iran. Those tiny tops over there in the land, our land, are causing havoc in Lebanon and the UAE and all these other places. They're bombing indiscriminately, and they're just causing havoc over there. So the Middle East is on fire. Okay. And this is all according to prophecy. Everything's happening exactly the way it's supposed to. So those of you that are the hopeful elect, we rejoice in hearing these news. The rest of the world, they mourn because they don't know what's happening next. Okay, all they know is that it was spoken before, but they don't know what's going to happen next. And in some cases, we don't either, but we know. All right, by when it happens, we know that it's according to prophecy. So that comforts us. Okay. That comforts us because we know that at the time of captivity is ending here. Okay, the Lord is breaking the yoke. Firstly, He broke the yoke off of our minds, and now He's going to physically break the yokes off of us, and we're going to be able to serve Him 100%, 144% in truth. All right, and in power. All right, when this kingdom falls. All right, it says. So just keep in mind, there's a lot of things going on right now. and it all's taking place. It's been leading up to this, but man, we're gonna get it. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be a beautiful day. It's gonna be a beautiful day, man. I don't know how to say it any other way than that. It says it's a number that frequently appears in history. The British Empire lasted about that time at its peak before beginning to fall apart. The Spanish Empire followed a similar pattern. Other It says the Spanish Empire followed a similar pattern. Others before them went through the same cycle. This isn't mysticism. It's pattern recognition, and that's what exactly what's going on. Like, those of us, and even this article, and even this the author of this article, they all understand one succinct thing, that in order to try to avoid, which they can't avoid it, because through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, everybody has their time. Okay, only the elect will have all of time, but under Yahweh Shai, but they understand pattern recognition. They understand that, hey, things aren't going well right now, so we need to figure out why is it not going well. You have inflation. You have the rise of women's movements, which in most empires before this, they've all dealt the same problem. They dealt with the same problem. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get scripture real quick. So I don't want to do too much speaking. And it's really because the Heavenly Father has already deemed, okay? He already deemed there's a time period set for this place. And they know it. Okay? And they know it. That's why they're rushing to do things. And it seems all out of sync. And then you're seeing tacky shit just happening out of nowhere. And you're like, well, what the hell is this? You know what I'm saying? Because they understand the time that they don't have is already begun to go away. Okay, this is Ezekiel 35:1. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it, man. And that's what we're doing. We're doing exactly what the Lord commanded us to do. We're prophesying against this place and telling them, hey, look, man, your time is ticking. Okay, get this chip situation going. I was just listening on the way. I was running some errands yesterday after work, and I was listening to Cell Therapy, all right, from a Goody Mob. For those of you that are old hip hop heads, especially Atlanta old hip hop heads, man, Cell Therapy is one of the it's a good song, and I think it was I think my man slipped my mind. I want to say Timo Goody, but yeah, I think it was him. But he mentioned, like, hey, look, man, in the future, they're gonna put that chip inside of us, man, and we're going to have to wave our hand over scanners. Okay. Yes, this isn't a song from the 90s. Now, does that make a hill of beans? All right, if he takes it, it doesn't really matter. But the point is that the truth has been out here the whole time. Our elders and apostles have been pushing that truth for many of years. And now we're at that time that we're at the cusp of this getting ready to be the actual situation. You have World War III literally here. Not at the doorstep, it's here. Okay? All these things are going on. You got I'm trying to figure out a word to say without YouTube getting mad. The alphabet gangsters, I'll say that. The alphabet gangsters, they out here, pushing around. They're trying to get rights. Okay, these are things that have happened in every empire. And what we're doing is, as men, possibly men of the Lord, we're going to tell these people, hey, look, man, enjoy the time that you're in, because it ain't going to be forever. You only have a certain amount of time to do what you're doing. and they disregard our message as predicted, and they're going to fall just like was prophesied. All right, this is Ezekiel 35:1 again. Says, moreover, the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shah thy power. It says, Behold, O Mount Seir, which in this case represents America, because Mount represents the top government. Seir represents Edomites or Esau, okay? Because that's Mount Seir is over in the land of Esau. But if the mountain represents a great power or a great empire government, and Seir is talking about Esau, Edom, all right? It's not talking about physically the land over in Esau or Edom. Okay, it's talking about a great empire ran by Esau on the earth. So we're facing what other country has more power than America right now? For people that try to debunk or dispute that America is spoken in the Bible, there ain't no other government that's more powerful than America on the face of this earth right now, and you know it. So Mount Seir is talking about America, because who runs America? The Chaldeans. Okay? There ain't no other country that rules with an iron fist like America does throughout the entire earth, which is also a prophecy going back to Jacob and Esau, which in that dream was given unto Rebekah, man. Come on, man. Context clues, man, and we read for understanding, okay? Precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. It says, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Shema Shah thy power, Behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out mine hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And that's what's going on, man. America is being laid to rest. And the biggest indicator of this is the way that the elite are moving right now. Things are all out of pocket. They got their eyes to the sky. They're trying to fly to the moon, but they can't. But they telling you that they did it, but they haven't. It's just a fucking mess, man. It's just a huge mess made by Esau Edom. And this is exactly what he's doing out of panic. He's telling you one thing, but then everything else is falling apart that he said would happen. It's just a mess. And the consistent thing of this whole situation is that the prophets of Yahweh Shema Shah are telling you consistently, week in and week out, year in and year out, this place is falling. Okay? And that's what we're doing according to Ezekiel 35. It says, And I will lay the cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. That's right. So right now, there's a surge. Now, there was a time when there was no one going to churches, because churches have no answer in this world. The churches of this world have no answers. They got no answers. All they can do is tell you to reach into your pocket and continue to contribute to the church for that building fund. That's all they can tell you. They can't tell you nothing about what's going on in the world. But now there's a surge recently of people coming back into the church. What is that telling you according to time and cycles? Well, people are scared. They have no answers, especially of this world. They have no answers, so they're going back to something that has a resemblance of an answer. But through that, what we already understanding is that the elect ultimately are going to seek the truth. They've been seeking the truth their whole life. But now this is the time where it all comes together. And through the prophesying and the cursing out of this place, guess what? It's ultimately the elect is going to somehow come across videos like this and other brothers who are pushing this word, and they going, they're gonna see the truth. The truth is gonna be opened up to them through the Spirit. Verse 5, it says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword. Well, and that's a key indicator right there, by the force of the sword. The Lord put that for is an exact reason, and that goes back to Genesis, because Esau was prophesied to rule the entire earth and the fatness of heaven, or the dew of heaven, the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven by what? By the sword. So the Lord gives you things in there, context clues, so that you can lead back to Genesis. Oh, that's what that means. Like when you read Revelation 6:4, he says, power should be given unto him, to the red horse. And we understand that horse represents power, and red is a callback to Esau when he was born, red all over like a hairy garment. He was being descriptive about this one being that came out of Rebecca, okay, that would cause holy hell in the entire earth, which he's doing. Okay? Because thou, and that's another callback, because thou has had perpetual hatred. Didn't Esau say, the days of my father are at hand, then I will slay my brother Jacob? You had a perpetual hatred from that point on against your brother Jacob, because he had the birthright that you sold to him, which was through the Spirit. Everything links up. Okay? Everything links up. And the only way you will be able to understand it is if you have the Spirit and the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai. The rest of the world will not understand this until it's too late. Okay? It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, all right, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. It says in the time of their iniquity, it was like when in the time that their iniquity had an end. So like, I just want to read that correctly. All right. So we're coming to the end of our calamity. Our iniquity is almost up, and Esau's going even harder. Because he knows. This devil knows what's going on, man. And now the fall of his empire is coinciding or correlating with our rise. Coinciding, that's what the word I'm looking for. Coinciding. All right. So the fall of his empire and the rise of us out of captivity is parallel. And he knows this. And that's why he's making up laws out of his ass. He's trying to keep us in captivity just a little bit longer. He's not trying to kick off World War III too quick, because he knows that prophecy says that once that pops off and the nukes are flying and people are, wars everywhere, he knows that eventually his fall is already there. So he's just looking for a little bit more time so he can chip the entire world, man. Okay? Back in the article from Medium, it says, this isn't mysticism. So he's trying to, the author of this paper, he's basically trying to, talk shit about the Bible in so many words, because they believe those are just mysticism words in a book that don't matter. And we're telling you otherwise. It says it's pattern recognition. Empires, no matter how powerful they seem at their peak, follow predictable patterns from rise to dominance to decline. The question isn't whether America is an empire. The real question is whether we're seeing the same signs of decline that have weakened every empire before the United States. Come on, man. Just like the Heavenly Father said you would do. The Lord gave you the time that you needed to build your empire to get to a point where you are undisputed in the world. He gave you that time. Also, he gave you time to create technology that you're going to try to use to try to overtake him and his dominance over all flesh, over every being in this earth and beyond. He gave you that time, and your time's almost up. Okay? Ezekiel 35:6, it says, "Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, thy power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. If thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." So that's a curse. The Lord threw a curse on you Edomites. And you're being pursued by blood. You Edomites, you descendants of Esau. Now you're getting cursed everywhere you go, just like we were. Everything we did, we were cursed. We build a city, the Lord would send the Edomites to destroy that shit. Or the Lord would destroy it from the inside out, because he did not want you to sit in your rest here in America. This ain't your rest. He wanted you to get your ass up and recognize the situation you find yourself in because of the curses that were thrown on you for not following the law, statutes, and commandments. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. Okay? This is Malachi 1:3. Okay? "And I hated Esau and laid read it again. Malachi 1:3. It says, "And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness," man. Laid it waste. What is the Lord saying here? He said, "I've hated Esau perpetually from the womb." Hell, before then, he was the serpent, right? Walking through the earth. The only difference is he had hue back then. Okay. Now he was struck down with the curse of Cain, which is the mark of Cain, all right, which is no pigmentation. That's true leprosy. Those are the lepers. Okay? They are pure lepers. No pigmentation of the hair or skin. So therefore, they are open to the elements. The sun hates them. The elements hate them. The animals hate them. Air hates them. The Lord made that a curse upon these people, man. So understand, when you read scriptures like this, you understand the context of what the Lord and who he's talking to. And you don't think the devil don't know this? That's why he's always trying to reach for the heavens. He's trying to take the Most High down. He thinks he can do it. But the Lord put the spirit in this proud ass devil to believe that, though. Okay? That's why he does stupid shit like says he's going to the moon and ain't been there a day in his life. This is verse 4, Malachi 1:4. It says, "Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished." He's talking about the Roman Empire falling. This is these understand what Esau is saying here, because the fall of the empire, of the Roman Empire at that time, left him impoverished. Left him without anything, without a home, which he still doesn't have a home, but he had no power structure. He fell to Jake for a time period, and it was 2/3 of Jake mostly. Okay, this is whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. And this is him building the desolate place. This is the result of him returning and building the desolate place as a result of the Renaissance. As a result of the Renaissance coming, and America was remade in the image of what? The Roman Empire. That's why you have architecture, you have beliefs, systems, okay? The way they govern, the way they sign laws, bring in laws, suggest laws. It's all according to the ancient Roman Empire, okay? It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts," of armies. It says, "They shall build what they did, which is America. America's here. Now we're at the 250th year. We are almost out of here, people. We're almost out of here. Just a little bit of time left. The scripture says, endure to the end." and the same shall be saved. Okay? It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, which they did, but I will throw down, not some nigga in a kufi, with some African beads around his neck, all right, holding up a pew pew. No. That's not what's gonna bring down Esau. Yahweh Shai is what's gonna bring this place down. Okay? It says, but I will throw down. It says, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, the people against whom the Lord Yahweh have indignation forever, man. So that indignation, things of that nature, even the fact that they have no hue, there's no now, does that mean all white people are Edomites? No. The same goes for all black people, or so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. All of them are Israelites. No, that's not true. Right? That's why this is talking about the seed line, and that's a very uncomfortable situation they like to speak about. They don't want to speak about that. That's why Esau knows who's at the top. They're like, look, we can trace our heritage back, but the rest of these people, we can't necessarily, so we can't take no chances that they might be Israelites. So they're just going to destroy the entire earth as much as they can and try to rebuild. That's what the Georgia Guidestones was about. So they're going to take out untold numbers of people. Okay? This devil is sick, man. He's a sick puppy, man. All right? It says, the people against whom the Lord Yahweh have indignation forever. And how would you spot them? Now, one of the biggest indications of an Edomite is the fact that he has no pigmentation. All right? He's a leper. Yeah, he suffers from leprosy. All right? A plague of the skin and hair and eyes. Okay? This is a major sign. Does not mean that it happens every occasion, but in every situation, but it does have a indication. Now, what am I saying here? These devils know that the time is almost up for their empire, and they don't have that much time. So that's why they're doing the sick shit that they're doing. That's why they're blaming us for everything, because they need a scapegoat. And Jake is a very, very convenient scapegoat. They're going to blame the Bible, which they already have, and they're blaming so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans for the fall of the society. So they're trying to rally the troops. This is Revelation 12:12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. He ain't got that much time. And he's looking at this and he's like, man. And that's why articles like this are popping up, because the spirit is reminding him. Because he's in the spirit as well, right? He's in the spirit of his forefather Esau. So he's in the spirit of understanding, like, man, we got to do something. Because he's watching videos just like this. Okay, he's going over compared notes. Okay, and he's like, the fuck, we got to do something. We got to stop this truth. Back in the article, it says the historical pattern, what dead empires tell us. In 1976, British General Sir John Glubb published an essay called The Fate of Empires. He examined 8 major empires dating back to 839 BC, searching for common patterns. What he discovered was striking. Each empire, from Assyria to Persia to Rome to the Ottomans to Britain, it lasted about 250 years, roughly 10 generations. and each went through remarkably similar phases. They know. It says they start with pioneers full of energy and growth. Then comes conquest and authority. Commerce flourishes as the empire becomes rich from trade and tribute. Wealth fuels prosperity, which in turn drives cultural and intellectual achievements. But prosperity breeds complacency. The age of decadence follows, characterized by overcompensation, right? It's not America on that right now. It says the elevation of celebrities above leaders. Come on, man. Come on. You got Donald Trump is the fucking president of the United States, man. He's literally a celebrity. Okay. It says, and the erosion of values that built that the empire. Ultimately, it results in decline and collapse. If you want to check this article out, you can go check out Medium. Okay, it's about a couple of months old, but you can go check this article out if you want to read the full article. But the point remains. This is exactly what we're looking for. Okay? The real danger, back in the article, it says the real danger isn't just that empires follow this pattern, but that they refuse to see it happening. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. That's in Nahum 3. This is that bloody city, man. Okay? But they refuse to see it happening. Every declining empire convinces itself it is different. That the rules don't apply. Is that not the mindset of a woman in today's world? You ask a woman who's so-called hit the wall, and she refuses. She refuses, downright advocates against that. No, I'm different. The rules don't apply to me. Your so-called rules, which is patriarchy. The rules don't apply to me. Well, that's America. America's a woman. That's why it's described as a woman in the Bible. That's not by coincidence. The Lord had it drawn up that America is mindset is of a woman, man. No, it does not apply to me. Nope, I'm not going to go through any of those things. Nope. You're lying. Nope. Nope. We're telling you yes. Right? This is the mindset of a woman. That's why it's known or likened to a woman. This is Revelation 18:2. It says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the holes of every foul spirit, and the cage of every unclean and hateful bird. That's what the future holds for America. Okay, verse 3 says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. All nations. This prophecy was linked onto Esau. Okay, Esau will rule the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. So every kingdom that's under the sun, under the rule of Babylon the Great at this time, would all drink of that fornication. They will all participate. And they all have. Even 2/3 of the nation of Israel. It says, and the merchants of the earth have waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Just like every other kingdom, America is no different, man. We tell you these things and you buck up against it because you are over here. And you decide in your mind, like, because we're saying something against it and we actually live here and we have to go through the same monotonous bullshit you gotta deal with every day. You seem to think that we care that, oh well, why would you speak against somewhere where you live? Ooh, would you be in danger? No, you ain't seeing it. You ain't seeing it for what it is. We understand that we're not in our rest. We understand that we are in captivity, just like you. That's the only thing is, the only thing is that you don't seem to see that. I'm talking to the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. You think you're different, just like every woman. You think you're different above the rule. The rule doesn't apply. Well, the rule definitely applies. Okay? Verse 4 says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. It says that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. That's right. This is a call to actual physically come out of America, man. Now, not getting on no boat or no plane and flying out of here. No, this is when the Lord sends those chariots. When he sends that loud voice, that call out, and that the Israelites are going to go into those chariots for safety. We're going to hide, all right? And people going to hear this and then, oh, you guys, these guys are crazy. You okay? That's why the scripture says that the strangers of our salvation. That's what they're going to look at the strangers like, what the, they're going to look at amazement or look in amazement. Okay. For her sins have reached up unto heaven, and the Most High have remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her, double according to her works. It says, in the cup which she hath filled up, fill to her double. Verse 7, it says, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her, for she hath said in her heart, right, in her mind, this is the point, I sit a queen and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. That's the point. They feel in their heart of hearts, in their minds of minds, that they will never see the fall of this empire. And we're at year 250, and we're close to the end. Back in the article, it says the real danger isn't just that empires follow this pattern, but they refuse to see it happening. Every declining empire convinces itself it is different, that the rules don't apply, and that this time will be the exception. Americans have taken this denial further by turning exceptionalism from a social idea into something that nearly looks like religion. And you can't tell them otherwise. We go on the highways and hedges week in and week out. We put up lessons like this every day in and day out, from all over the world. And the reception to these lessons and to us going on the highways and hedges are the same. That don't apply to us. There's some mystical book. That's something the so-called white man gave y'all. Right. Same thing applies, man. And they can't see the time ticking away. The hourglass is almost empty. Or the top of the hourglass is almost empty. Such a shame. It says American exceptionalism once referred to a historical fact, unlike European workers. American workers largely rejected socialism, which made America unique. But somewhere along the way, as Princeton historian Sean Wilentz notes, exceptionalism was hijacked. Today, it means something entirely different, that America, alone among nations, is believed by the Most High Power, or by God. It says, when politicians invoke American exceptionalism, They make a theological chain or claim that places America beyond criticism and comparison. Yeah, man. This is what they believe. They truly believe this shit. They believe they're above any kingdom that was before them. And in some cases, they're right. In some cases, they're right. Because this is the absolute worst kingdom to ever grace the face of this earth. This is absolutely the worst. But along with that means there's going to come the greatest destruction to ever be seen by man on this earth. No other destruction is going has came before or come after what's going to happen to America. All right. Let's jump down to let's read a little bit more. It says, American exceptionalism once referred to a historical fact. Oh, I already read that. This matters because once you portray your country as divinely chosen, honest evaluation becomes impossible. If God made America exceptional, pointing out issues appears like challenging divine will. This is exactly what this has become. Okay, let's jump down to Rome. Rome's exhaustion. It says the Western Roman Empire did not collapse because of a single disaster. It declined due to many small failures over hundreds of years. Military campaigns stretched supply lines too thin. The treasury struggled to pay the bills. Corruption damaged the administration. Political chaos prevented effective decision making. The economy weakened as trade became risky and farming declined. When it finally fell in 476 AD, it was more exhaustion than defeat. So it wasn't necessarily the defeat of it, it was the fall of declining systems within. Then the outwardly came, okay? The Roman Empire or the Roman Republic is equally instructive. It lasted about 500 years before turning into an empire. The shift happened gradually over generations. No single event marked the transition, but by the time it was done, the old system was beyond saving. Historian Mike Duncan, who spent 179 podcast episodes covering the fall of the Roman Republic, describes the transformation clearly. There were still elections, the Senate still met, but real power had moved elsewhere. Old institutions became facades, still present but hollow of meaning. The lesson is that institutional decline can be slowed or reversed up to a point, but beyond that, the damage becomes self-perpetuating and eventually irreversible. And we'll stop right there. Okay. Again, if you want to check out this article, you can go to Medium. Pretty good read, like I said it would be. And hey, through the spirit of power, how about Shema Shai? We pray that this lesson was edifying. So we're gonna pray. We're gonna play this video. All right. And I pray that this is edifying. Fair use, fair use, fair use. I wanted to play a little bit of this video just so you understand through the spirit of power, how about Shema Shai? This is all a part of prophecy. All right.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Natural News, and today we're diving into a book that's really got me thinking. It's called America's Expiration Date: The Fall of Empires and Superpowers and the Future of the United States by Cal Thomas. Now, this isn't just another doom and gloom book. It's a deep dive into the past, a look at the present, and a warning for the future. So, buckle up, because this is going to be a ride. Imagine for a moment that you knew the exact date of the end of the world. Let's say, just for the sake of this thought experiment, that on July 4th, 2026, the world as we know it is going to end. Jesus will return, the dead will be raised, and the world will be transformed. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I'm not here to push any particular theological view. I'm a journalist, not a theologian. But let's play along. What would you do with the next few years? How would your life change? You might think, well, I'd quit my job and travel the world, or I'd spend more time with my family, or maybe even I'd try to right all the wrongs I've done. But here's the thing. We don't get that advance notice. We don't know when our personal expiration date is, and most of us don't spend much time thinking about it. We just live day to day, week to week, going through the motions. But what if I told you that our nation has an expiration date, and it's coming up sooner than we might think? In his book, Cal Thomas suggests that on July 4th, 2026, the United States of America, as we know it, might no longer be the beacon of freedom and opportunity it once was. He's drawing on the work of Sir John Glubb, a British soldier and scholar who studied the rise and fall of empires over the past 3,000 years. Glubb found that the average lifespan of a great nation, or empire, is about 250 years. On July 4th, 2026, America will be exactly 250 years old. Coincidence? Maybe. But it's worth considering. Glubb identified stages in the rise and fall of great nations: the age of pioneers, the age of conquests, the age of commerce, the age of affluence, the age of intellect, and finally, the age of decadence. According to Glubb, decadence is characterized by defensiveness, pessimism, materialism, frivolity, an influx of foreigners, the welfare state, and a weakening of religion. Sound familiar? Think about it. We're seeing a lot of these signs in our own country. There's a sense of defensiveness and pessimism, especially in our political discourse. Materialism and frivolity are everywhere, from the endless consumerism to the trivialization of serious issues. We're dealing with the challenges of integrating a large influx of immigrants, and the welfare state is growing. Religion is becoming less influential, and many people are losing their sense of purpose. Now, you might be thinking, but America is different. We're special, and in many ways we are. We were founded on the principles of liberty and justice for all, and we've achieved incredible things. But that doesn't mean we're immune to the patterns of history. If we don't learn from the mistakes of the past, we're doomed to repeat them. So, what can we do? Thomas argues that the key is to address the moral and spiritual decay that's eating away at the foundation of our nation. It's not just about politics or economics. It's about character, about living up to the high standards that made America great in the first place. We need to set standards of decency and morality for ourselves and our families. We need to guide our children with wisdom and discipline. We need to support institutions that promote values and resist the pull of materialism. One of the most striking things Thomas points out is the role of the family. In 1960, 73% of children lived in what we used to call an intact family, with two heterosexual parents. Today, that number is down to 46%. The decline of the traditional family has had far-reaching consequences, from higher crime rates to poorer educational outcomes. We need to strengthen the family unit because it's the building block of a strong society. Another critical issue is the role of religion. While it's important to respect people's personal beliefs, we can't deny the role that faith has played in shaping our nation. It's no coincidence that many of the greatest social movements in American history, from the abolition of slavery to the civil rights movement, were driven by people of faith. We need to find a way to bring that moral clarity back into our public discourse. Finally, we need to be active citizens. Voting is important, but it's not enough. We need to engage in our communities, support local organizations, and stand up for what we believe in. We can't just sit on the sidelines and hope for the best. We need to be the change we want to see. So, as we approach this potential expiration date, let's not be like the people who ignored the warning signs in the past. Let's take action. Let's be proactive. And let's do our part to ensure that America remains the bright and shining city on a hill that it was meant to be. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Yeah. And he's already just outlining basically what the article already said. Like, there's no comeback for this. All right. There's no comeback. Time is already up. It's only literally a matter of time. So everything that they're doing is according to exactly what the prophecy said that they would do. Okay? And again, like I stated earlier, the parallel of their fall and our rise is even in the scriptures. Now let's read about it. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? And when shall the end of the first and the beginning of it followeth? Verse 8 it says, And he said unto me from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. And what does that represent? That represents him pulling him down from out of power. Esau is the first, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So what does that mean according to prophecy? Well, that means that Esau will be in power when Jacob begins to rise. And this time, we ain't leaving the power seat ever again. When Esau is pulled down by, in this case, Yahushai was prophesied to be the one to bring him down. Okay, to be the end of his kingdom. And as we're watching these things and prophesying and praying and fasting and all of these things that are happening, as these things are happening and year in, year out, day in and day out, and we're doing more lessons and the Spirit's increasing, we're watching this happen real time. We're living the prophecy right now. Whether you believe or not is of no consequence to us. We don't care. We've seen too much. Okay. 2 Ezra 6 and 8 it says, And he said unto me from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That's the point. But if you want more, we'll give you more. Let's go to Daniel. Right? We'll give you more. This is Daniel 2 and 40. It says, And the fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire. Okay? And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, which is his military, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall break in pieces and bruise. And that's what he did. It broke in the pieces of the previous empires, and now it's all consumed within the fourth kingdom, which is the Roman Empire. And this is the second leg of the Roman Empire, according to Malachi 1 and 3 and 4, which we read earlier. It broke in pieces. It was impoverished after a while, the Western Roman Empire, but it came back through the Renaissance Empire, or it's like through the Renaissance period, all right, to return to power. And now it has become America, a great dragon. Started off as a serpent in the garden, now has become a 7-headed dragon. It kept growing. Got so powerful that only the Lord can take them down. And that's what's going to happen. All right. And we're going to jump down to 44. This is Daniel 2 and 44. And this coincides with 2 Ezra 6 and 8. Okay. And 6 and 9. We're actually 2 Ezra 6, chapter 6, verses 7 through 9. This is Daniel 2 and 44. And in the days of these kings shall the Most High of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall be left. The kingdom shall not be left to other peoples. Right? It says, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So during the time of these kings, led by the king of kings at that time on the earth, which is Esau. He's the top king on this earth right now. But at that time, the Lord will send his son back to break in pieces all those kingdoms and consume their kingdoms. The head of the snake right now is America. Whenever you watch those so-called alien movies, right? Who are they always, when they come to Earth in the movies, where do they go? Do they go to Russia? Do they go to China? Do they go to South Africa? Huh? Do they go to Brazil? No, they go to America. You know why? Because they understand that is where the top kingdom on the earth is. You don't want to speak to the fucking peasant. You want to speak to the top man. The man that can make things happen. That's what America represents. All right. Verse 45, it says, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of a mountain without hands. That's a chariot. That's Yahushua. Okay. Yahushua is going to come back from a mountain that's not made with hands. Talking about a chariot, man. That's why Esau is trying to get the hell out of here. Escape. It says, and it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. Ooh. Come on now. That great mountain that the Lord's going to send back is his son in a chariot. During the midst of World War III. And that's why World War III has to come to pass. It has to. Because this is what we're looking for. It's a time period. It matches up everything we need to see. All right? Of course, these devils don't want to see that. Why would they want to? Right? I'm going to play this other video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. I pray this edifying. Fair use, fair use.
All empires repeat the same cycle, says 20th century historian John Glubb. He observed that for the past 3,000 years, every civilization has followed the same 6 stages before decline. What are they? Sir John Bagot Glubb was a British soldier and author who served as the commanding general of Transjordan's Arab Legion from 1939 to 1956. In his later years, he wrote about geopolitics and world history, and penned a succinct description of how civilizations rise and fall. Glubb's 1978 work, The Fate of Empires and the Search for Survival, is an idea-dense essay that argues all great empires follow an eerily similar pattern. From observing 11 distinct cultures, Glubb draws some intriguing conclusions that have implications for modern society. Glubb first notes that empires generally only last about 250 years, or 10 human generations. Though there are exceptions, a remarkable similarity in lifespans emerges when one compares them side by side. Glubb writes, in spite of the accidents of fortune and the apparent circumstances of the human race at different epochs, the periods of duration of different empires at varied epochs shows a remarkable similarity. And the trend holds regardless of a civilization's technological level. The Assyrians marched on foot and fought with spears. The British used artillery, railways, and ocean-going ships. Yet the two empires lasted for approximately the same periods. The first stage of an empire, Glubb claims, is the age of pioneers, or the outburst. This is where a small, seemingly insignificant nation emerges from its homeland and establishes a presence on the world stage. This outburst is characterized by energy, courage, and creativity.
If you want to check this video out, you can go to Thinking West, okay? At Thinking West. It's a pretty decent channel dealing with history. So I wanted to say fair use. But if you want to check this video out, you can go to Thinking West on YouTube. Like I said, it's pretty good for history. But yeah, the conclusion is the same, man. Everything links up with prophecy. All right.
Glubb describes the new conquerors as normally poor, hardy, enterprising, and above all, aggressive. Unbound by established traditions, they rely on improvisation and experimentation. If one method fails, they try something else. Glubb gives the example of Macedon in the 4th century. Prior to Philip, Macedon had been an insignificant state to the north of Greece. Yet by 323 BC, 36 years after the accession of Philip, the Macedonian Empire extended from the Danube to India. The second stage is called the Age of Conquests. The sophistication of aging civilizations are adopted by the rising power. Thus, their expansion consists of organized, disciplined, and professional campaigns. This is where the culture becomes a bona fide empire. This stage is characterized by confidence, optimism, and contempt for decadent cultures whom they've conquered. The people of the new empire are practical in both government and war. Moreover, Glubb notes that their lack of tradition allows their leadership a freedom to try new things. He writes, "The leaders are free to use their own improvisations, not having studied politics or tactics in schools or in textbooks." Next comes the Age of Commerce. With the acquisition of vast areas of land, commerce becomes easy and safe for the empire's citizens. Resources, people, and ideas are exchanged over great distances. And if the empire is large, a great variety of products are produced. The Age of Commerce often overlaps with the Age of Conquests, but the public's values begin to shift. The proud military traditions still hold sway, and the great armies guard the frontiers. But gradually, the desire to make money seems to gain hold of the public. An honor culture is replaced by a mercantile one. During the military period, glory and honor were the principal objects of ambition. To the merchant, such ideas are but empty words, which add nothing to the bank balance. The Age of Affluence comes next, and is a natural consequence of the Age of Commerce. Monetary gain becomes the sole pursuit. Glubb writes, "The Age of Affluence silences the voices of duty. The object of the young and the ambitious is no longer fame, honor, or service, but cash. The fighting spirit of the empire fades as leaders buy off enemies rather than fight them. Subsidies instead of weapons are employed to buy off enemies. Military readiness or aggressiveness is denounced as primitive and immoral. Civilized peoples are too proud to fight." The fifth stage in Glubb's model is the Age of Intellect, a period of scholarly activity that coincides with decline. Whereas in the Age of Affluence, the merchant class patronized the arts, now colleges and universities are given immense funding. Glubb noted that in his own time, he saw the US and Britain as undergoing this phase. When these nations were at their height of their glory, Harvard, Yale, Oxford, and Cambridge seemed to meet their needs. Now almost every city has its university. And once again, the energy of the society is directed toward a new goal. The ambition of the young, once engaged in the pursuit of adventure and military glory, and then in the desire for the accumulation of wealth, now turns to the acquisition of academic honors. The final stage of an empire is the age of decadence. It's characterized by a number of symptoms: internal division, an influx of foreigners, materialism and frivolity, a welfare.
Yeah, come on. Isn't this where America is? Materialism, right? What spirit is that? It's the spirit of a woman, right? Entranced by things of things and of materialism or materials, right? Made of materials such as purses, handbags, shoes. These are materials, but they're entranced, which is during as the person narrating this video, Thinking West, is saying, look, it all comes before the fall. It's undeniable at this point. Okay, and you don't seem to see it at this point. This video is pretty long. I didn't want to make this video this long, but I mean, it's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. It's got to come out. This is a part of measuring the time diligently. Okay?
State, weakening religion, and a defensive mindset. Empires decline amidst a cacophony of argument. Glubb writes that endless and incessant talking fails to solve political and social disagreements. Amid a babble of talk, the ship drifts onto the rocks. That is because cleverness cannot solve problems that require self-sacrifice. There are times when the perhaps unsophisticated self-dedication of the hero is more essential than the sarcasms of the clever. Glubb notes that internal strife is a hallmark of decline and gives the Byzantine Empire as a prime example. Civil wars and infighting preoccupied the empire until the Ottomans were already on their doorstep. Strikes, demonstrations, boycotts, and similar activities are prevalent in the last stage of empire, and internal strife is exacerbated by external conflict. Rather than unifying around a potential threat, the nation pulls itself apart. An influx of foreigners, usually concentrated in cities, accompanies a civilization's decline. Glubb claims that when a culture is homogeneous, there is a feeling of solidarity and comradeship among the people. But a large number of foreigners disrupts this. Foreigners disrupt the unity of the empire due to a few reasons. Number one, their nature often differs from that of the original imperial stock. Number two, in hard times they are less willing to sacrifice their lives and their property. Number three.
Yeah. What happened during the Biden administration, or really going back to Obama, really before the end, but, for those of us that came of age at that time during the Obama administration, the so-called millennials, what did we notice? We noticed an influx of foreigners, okay? And it really hit its peak during the Biden administration, but, and then you had, Nero, all right, Nero 47, all right, aka DJT. He came to rise during that time because he was speaking against those things. Okay. So now this is push and pull, the push-pull method, right? That hot and cold. And now this thing is absolutely falling apart. Because that internal strife that the narrator is saying in this video is absolutely correct, on the money, when talking about where America is today. And he's speaking about ancient civilizations from before then, especially around the 250th year.
3. They are liable to form communities of their own. And finally, there may be resentment among those who were previously conquered by the imperial race. Glubb note,
you so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans. All right? The prophecy says that you would rise up. at a certain time. We're almost there.
That these problems are not due to superiority or inferiority of any race, rather because there are natural differences between them that makes a single culture difficult to maintain. In his time, he noticed the influx of migrants to the declining British Empire. In London today, Cypriots, Greeks, Italians, Russians, Africans, Germans, and Indians jostle one another on the buses and in the underground, so that it sometimes seems difficult to find any British. Frivolity is also a sign of decline. Glubb claims that this mindset is rooted in pessimism. Let us eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Decadence is ultimately a spiritual sickness resulting from too long a period of wealth and power. Cynicism, decline of religion, pessimism, and frivolity follow. No effort is made to save the nation because its citizens no longer believe anything is worth saving. Glubb saw the similarities between empires' lifespans as a reason to teach history differently. Rather than focusing on particular nations or periods, the history of the whole human race should be taught. He concluded, if we studied calmly and impartially the history of human institutions and development over these 4,000 years, should we not reach conclusions which would assist to solve our problems today? What do you think of Glubb's analysis?
Well, he's partly right because he's more than likely an Edomite, but he's partly right. And again, if you want to check out this article, you can. You can check this article out from Medium, okay? And it's a beautiful read, as we already read through most of it. You can also check those same videos out if you want to go to YouTube. You can Thinking West, all right, for some historical context to what we're seeing today. But also, the elect will see these videos and they will watch with an amazement, and they will eventually understand what times they're in, and they will come into the house of the Lord with open heart and an open mind, and they will serve the Lord through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. So with that, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shema Shai, Ba'ashem, Muhammad Kadash. Shalom to the elect.